Nah, I'm just kidding. You know I've got to talk about Trump. Come on. We weren't just going to stop there. Come on. Although I am a little hurt that he's not here tonight. We had so much fun the last time. All right, that's probably enough. I mean, I've got more material. No. I don't want to spend too much time on the Donald. Following your lead, I want to show some restraint. Because I think we can all agree that from the start, he's gotten the appropriate amount of coverage, befitting the seriousness of his candidacy.
So this was back in 2016 during Obama's final White House Correspondents' Dinner speech. So Obama here took direct shots at Donald Trump in front of everybody in the audience and, of course, the glare of the cameras. And at that time, actually, most people really saw this as just a political comedy. But it feels like years later, this speech has suddenly started going viral again for some reason. And I think people are revisiting this speech and looking at it from a very different perspective at this point. And I really thought to myself, it could be because lately we've also seen an increase of, attacks and swipes from Donald Trump towards Barack Obama. That could have actually highlighted this moment once again. I want us to continue to finish up with this speech, and we'll be back with some more good commentary.
Good evening, everybody. It is an honor to be here at my last, and perhaps the last, White House Correspondents' Day. You all look great. The end of the Republic has never looked better. I do apologize. I know I was a little late tonight. I was running on CPT. Which stands for jokes that white people should not make. It's a tip for you, Jeff. Anyway, here we are. My 8th and final appearance at this unique event. And I am excited. If this material works well, I'm going to use it at Goldman Sachs next year. Earn me some serious Tubmans. That's right. That's right. My brilliant and beautiful wife, Michelle, is here tonight. She looks so happy to be here. That's called practice. It's like learning to do 3-minute planks. She makes it look easy now, but next year at this time, someone else will be standing here in this very spot, and it's anyone's guess who she will be. But standing here, I can't help but be reflective, a little sentimental. 8 years ago, I said it was time to change the tone of our politics. In hindsight, I clearly should have been more specific. Eight years ago, I was a young man, full of idealism and vigor. And look at me now. I am gray, grizzled, just counting down the days till my death panel. Hillary once questioned whether I'd be ready for a 3 a.m. phone call. Now I'm awake anyway because I got to go to the bathroom. I'm up. In fact, somebody recently said to me, Mr. President, you are so yesterday. Justin Trudeau has completely replaced you. He's so handsome, he's so charming. He's the future. And I said, Justin, just give it a rest. I resented that. Meanwhile, Michelle has not aged a day. The only way you can date her in photos is by looking at me. Take a look. Here we are in 2008. Here we are a few years later. And this one is from 2 weeks ago. So time passes. In just 6 short months, I will be officially a lame duck, which means Congress now will flat out reject my authority, and Republican leaders won't take my phone calls. And this is going to take some getting used to. It's really going to, it's a curveball. I don't know what to do with it. Of course, in fact, 4 months now, congressional Republicans have been saying there are things I cannot do in my final year. Unfortunately, this dinner was not one of them. But on everything else, it's another story. And you know who you are, Republicans. In fact, I think we've got Republican Senators Tim Scott and Cory Gardner. They're in the House, which reminds me, security, bar the doors. Judge Merrick Garland, come on out. We're going to do this right here, right now. It's like the Red Wedding. But it's not just Congress. Even some foreign leaders, they've been looking ahead, anticipating my departure. Last week, Prince George showed up to our meeting in his bathrobe. That was a slap in the face. A clear breach of protocol. Although while in England, I did have lunch with Her Majesty the Queen, took in a performance of Shakespeare, hit the links with David Cameron, just in case anybody is still debating whether I'm black enough. I think that settles the debate. I won't lie. Look, this is a tough transition. It's hard. Key staff are now starting to leave the White House. Even reporters have left me. Savannah Guthrie, she's left the White House press corps to host the Today Show. Norah O'Donnell, left the briefing room to host CBS This Morning. Jake Tapper left journalism to join CNN. But the prospect of leaving the White House is a mixed bag. You might have heard that someone jumped the White House fence last week, but I have to give Secret Service credit. They found Michelle, brought her back. She's safe. She's safe back at home now. It's only 9 more months, baby. Settle down. And yet somehow, despite all this, despite the churn, in my final year, my approval ratings keep going up. The last time I was this high, I was trying to decide on my major. And here's the thing, I haven't really done anything differently. So it's odd. Even my aides can't explain the rising poll numbers. What has changed? Nobody can figure it out. Puzzling. Anyway, in this last year, I do have more appreciation for those who've been with me on this amazing ride. Like one of our finest public servants, Joe Biden. God bless him. Love that guy. I love Joe Biden. I really do. And I want to thank him for his friendship, for his counsel, for always giving it to me straight, for not shooting anybody in the face. Thank you, Joe. Also, I would be remiss, let's give it up for our host, Larry Wilmore. Also known as one of the 2 black guys who's not Jon Stewart. You're the South African guy, right? I love Larry. And his parents are here, who are from Evanston, which is a great town. I also would like to acknowledge some of the award-winning reporters that we have with us here tonight. Rachel McAdams, Mark Ruffalo, Leah Schreiber. Thank you all for everything that you've done. I'm just joking. As you know, Spotlight is a film, a movie, about investigative journalists with the resources and the autonomy to chase down the truth and hold the powerful accountable. Best fantasy film since Star Wars. Look, that was maybe a cheap shot. I understand the news business is tough these days. It keeps changing all the time. Every year at this dinner, somebody makes a joke about BuzzFeed, for example, changing the media landscape. And every year the Washington Post laughs a little bit less hard. It's kind of a silence there, especially at the Washington Post table. GOP Chairman Reince Priebus is here as well. Glad to see that you feel that you've earned a night off. Congratulations on all your success. The Republican Party, the nomination process, it's all going great. Keep it up. Kendall Jenner is also here, and we had a chance to meet her backstage. She seems like a very nice young woman. I'm not exactly sure what she does, but I am told that my Twitter mentions are about to go through the roof. Helen Mirren is here tonight. I don't even have a joke here. I just think Helen Mirren is awesome. She's awesome. Sitting at the same table, I see Mike Bloomberg. Mike, a combative, controversial New York billionaire, is leading the GOP primary, and it is not you. That has to sting a little bit. Although it's not an entirely fair comparison between you and the Donald. After all, Mike was a big city mayor. He knows policy in depth, and he's actually worth the amount of money that he says he is. What an election season. A lot of folks have been surprised by the Bernie phenomenon, especially his appeal to young people, but not me. I get it. Just recently, a young person came up to me and said she was sick of politicians standing in the way of her dreams. As if we were actually going to let Malia go to Burning Man this year. Was not going to happen. Bernie might have let her go, not us. Bernie's slogan has helped his campaign catch fire among young people. Love and Hillary. It's not entirely persuasive. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, things are a little more, how shall we say this, a little more loose. Just look at the confusion over the invitations to tonight's dinner. Guests were asked to check whether they wanted steak or fish, but instead, a whole bunch of you wrote in Paul Ryan. That's not an option, people. Steak or fish. You may not like steak or fish, but that's your choice. Meanwhile, some candidates aren't polling high enough to qualify for their own joke tonight. The rules were well established ahead of time. Well, let me conclude tonight on a more serious note. I want to thank the Washington Press Corps. I want to thank Carol for all that you do. You know, the free press is central to our democracy, and nah, I'm just kidding. You know I've got to talk about Trump. Come on. We weren't just going to stop there. Come on. Although I am a little hurt that he's not here tonight. We had so much fun the last time. All right, that's probably enough. I mean, I've got more material. No. I don't want to spend too much time on the Donald. Following your lead, I want to show some restraint. Because I think we can all agree that from the start, he's gotten the appropriate amount of coverage, befitting the seriousness of his candidacy.
Yeah, now, so my point was part of the reason is this speech has been going viral again after leaving office is Obama still really remains one of Trump's favorite political figures. Trump still constantly mentions Obama, he blames Obama, and he throws jabs at him publicly, sometimes lightly and other times a bit more harsh, yeah? But when people go back and watch these Obama's jokes from that particular night, many are noticing that there is a very big contrast in the style. Obama really actually roasted Trump politically here and humorously, but without crossing, in my view, without crossing into some of the more, personal and sensitive territory that we've been seeing lately in politics, like Trump's, using the race card while attacking the Obamas. We have seen that in the recent past. And really, honestly, seeing this speech resurface today is interesting because it shows how much, political culture in the US and, of course, across the world has been changing over the last few years. The tone, the kind of attack, is it humorous? The atmosphere generally, and what do those kind of jokes what kind of atmosphere do they create amongst the people? Everything feels far more intense now than it actually did then with those kind of jokes. We've just a few weeks ago we saw Trump displaying the Obamas as apes, and maybe that was a political joke according to Trump, but what kind of atmosphere does that create amongst the people? Now, I want to know what you actually think about these two different political faces in the American history. Which style comes across better to you? Obama's more humorous political roasting, like we saw here, or a much more, harsher and more personal style or more personal attack style of politics that we have seen with Trump? Or what do you really think as the highlight of this speech? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.